Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of In My Opinion. My name is John.
My name is Lester.
And today, we're having some really exciting setup down here, because we're testing our streaming soon.
Yes, but anyways, we are doing a stress test right now, but we're also filming an episode. But what are we stress testing for? You guys might be wondering. We are doing a live stream. In fact, when this comes out, it will be a Tuesday. We will be live streaming this Saturday. Is it this Saturday, John?
Is it this Saturday?
I think it's this Saturday.
Huh?
Is it this Saturday? You know what? We'll get back to you on it. We'll look at the comments down below. It's either this Saturday.
Date.
I think it's 12.
12. Yes, don't say this date or the other. 12 December Saturday.
12 December Saturday.
Okay, let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay, so basically we are trying to finish up before the second half of December so that we can properly wrap up the year. And that's why you will see a whole bunch of things happening now. So this is actually not just an episode on its own. It's also for us to kind of stress test what's going on. And then hopefully, if it goes well, maybe I can go and psycho him to put in the behind the scenes. I don't know if you're interested in that. So we could always do that. Yeah.
Yes, but we'll be live streaming basically the entire of our episode 40, which is a reflection of like doing the podcast and everything.
Yes.
We'll be live streaming on 12 from 8 p.m. all the way to midnight, so you'll get to hear us until you sleep.
Correct.
And
or until we start to doze off.
Yeah, you guys please come and entertain us. We are expecting a grand total of 5 people. So be part of that 5.
Yeah.
And you can talk to us, you can ask us personal questions, you can ask John juicy questions, then we will answer them.
Yeah, we'll try our best too.
Yeah.
But if not, that's also something that y'all can try to look forward to in season 2 when we move on to the following year. Yeah. So this is why we are having all this busy thing why we so busy with all this funny ass setup
Yeah. But you know what? Let's go into what we are doing today. So these 2 episodes will be leaving for more reflection, because we are in a reflective mood now.
Yeah.
Now that we are going into Christmas, now we're going to the New Year's.
Yes.
We want to reflect on the past year. So next episode, we will be reflecting a little bit about our podcasting journey. But today we want to reflect a bit about our opinions throughout the rest of the 38 episodes that we have been on. So there are a lot of opinions that I'm sure probably have changed over the year.
Probably, and as usual, I am not the good memory person. Lester is the good memory person.
I am.
So, in order not to frighten his computer anymore, we're going to go straight into our phone so that we can pull up our IMO episodes from the start of the year so that we can run through with y'all, how we've been doing and how our minds have changed. Because like I always mention in every damn episode, I always come into these kind of discussions ready to have my mind changed.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a lot of opinions that we have said over the last 40 episodes, so 38 episodes. So if you haven't checked them out, go and check them out. But we're going to be going through them in rapid fire session right now. I'll be roughly recapping what we said. Yeah. And then we're going to discuss in 1 or 2 minutes whether we still hold the opinion.
You know what? Let's go for it.
Let's go for it right now. So the first one, the topic was Singapore's reaction to the Wuhan virus.
Oh,
back when we could still say Wuhan virus.
Okay, back then you must understand this was based on what my phone says. It's like in February before circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Back when the pandemic was really starting to ramp up.
Yeah.
And back then when it didn't have it wasn't given the proper disease name, COVID-19, not yet. Coronavirus disease 19, not yet. No. It was still called the Wuhan pneumonia.
It was even Straits Times were calling it
the Wuhan pneumonia. And if you think about it, man, we were so innocent back then. So that was the first episode, and I remember our opinions were basically we were talking a little bit about the scalpers. Yeah, 2020 was wilder than we expected because February we were kids. We were all kids.
I want to say that I think at that time we were everyone just calm the fuck down, everyone just chill.
We were still kind of hopeful for travel to still be a thing.
Yeah.
Events to still be a thing, but look at us, we're in December now.
It's not going to be a thing for a while.
Yeah.
But at that time, I remember we were okay, everyone calm down, this is nothing, let's just do our part.
Did we say that it's nothing? I'm pretty sure we didn't say that.
Okay, we didn't say it's nothing, but I did think that we were okay, calm down.
Yes.
Let's not hot.
Yes.
Let's not scalp.
Yes.
Let's not do these things.
Yes.
Everything is okay.
Yes.
I think you said everything's okay, and then turns out everything was not very okay. But the messages still hold lah. I think we still stand by the idea that we don't like scalpers
Yeah.
and we don't like hoarders.
We don't like people who behave badly lah.
Yeah.
In fact, now, right, I would say that the scalpers and hoarders in Singapore have evolved into another kind, which is the self-entitled shout at safe distancing ambassador kind of assholes.
Are
Right?
or the people who got there's someone this like safe distancing ambassador who got stabbed.
What?
Don't call me on this.
Link us up in the comments below as usual whenever we discuss this kind of things. But the main thing is definitely my thoughts on the scalping and the bad behavior. It definitely has not changed because at the end of the year, do you realize there's another thing that recently started to be scalped?
GTX 3070s
And PlayStation 5.
Oh, okay, that's true. It's crazy.
It goes to show that the pandemic doesn't stop assholes.
It really does not. If anything, it inspires them.
Yeah. Tech savvy assholes.
Yeah, going on to that, like we also uploaded a second episode which is panic behavior.
Ah, yes.
So it was meant as a psychology behind the panic behavior because I was going into like a bit of the psychological concepts of why people panic, as to why maybe there's a reason why they're doing so and it's not as unforgivable as we think it is. And I still remember at a time where it was like people were so angry at like boomers or so angry at like the older folks for like going to supermarkets and like basically buying off the entire shelf of toilet paper.
Yeah.
And man, those were the times that it felt like a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
But I still stand by what I said. I think people were overreacting a little bit at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that now they are like, I think they are adapting quite well.
I'm just gonna put it out there that like panic behavior is something that I think what you rightly brought up about how it's a psychological thing that does not necessarily affect just generation. It affects everyone, right? And the thing about it is that I feel that instead of becoming better, we have become desensitized. We don't go and chung for things in a panic anymore because, man, we've been living in this pandemic for a long ass time. If you need to be swabbed, man, you've been swabbed. If you need to wear masks, you've worn masks. Yeah. In fact, our trace together tokens have gone through so many shapes and iterations. The first time around still can fit into the old AirPods case. Now whatever shape already, nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
So clearly we have taken the pandemic in stride. But is there light at the end of this tunnel? Yes. But tunnel is still pretty long.
Yeah, I think we to give the credit to the older generation, I think they have handled it pretty well considering
you know what? Credit to everyone who is hustling hard, who is out in the world, who is listening to this. You all have been doing a great job this year, even though it's probably shittier than your years, and the year, even though it feels really short, probably also felt like the longest year to be alive in. But you know what? Thank you for surviving to the end of the year. Let's all work to have a better 2021. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't we go to the next one, which is what you should think about after A-levels, which is actually one of our first very well performing videos.
Yeah, and did you know that recently A-levels just finished?
Again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think recently it started popping up again on people's feeds because people are commenting on the videos more and more. So I think in that episode, we basically talked about John about his own experience in A-levels and not doing very well, and my experience of doing well and my our advisor. I think it still holds.
Yeah. We
still agree. So if you're an A-level person and you want to know a little bit more about, okay, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
I highly recommend the episode.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that because recently I did a career talk with some A-level students.
Yeah.
Right. And I realized that the world has changed so much. It's so funny being an A-level graduate. Or for that matter, graduate from any institute, any level of education in a year like this.
Yeah.
And having to have your career engagements with professionals, right, over video call and stuff like that. It's just surreal, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting to see how the world has adapted. Because my alma mater, Catholic Junior College, called me back to do a sort of like a talk with their students.
Isn't that mad?
It's kind of mad that we had to do it over Zoom and then like people basically the world has gone online in terms of face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
Beyond this
is
we don't
online.
We don't see much anymore because this is this is the barely legal. You get what I mean?
In fact, even like most of the IMO episodes, you will see like if you go back to our IMO episodes, you will see the very clear progression to where we started doing more social distancing because we started doing the online
Shoot from
episodes.
home.
Yeah, and in fact, most of our IMOs are actually done that way. This is the first time in a
Exactly.
very long time that it's just the two of us here
Yeah.
without our guests.
Yeah, and it's kind of a good sign, you know, that the world is changing in a way that is going back to something that's familiar,
Yeah,
if not normal. Because I mean I've come to terms with the fact that we don't want to go back to the old ways. We go back to the new normal.
the new normal. Yeah, exactly. So yes, the episode highly recommend still,
Yeah.
and the opinions we still hold on to it. The
And
next,
to our new A-level kids, you know, reach out to us. We got stories to tell you, man.
yes, and the next episode was actually should influencers be expected to do more? And this is an episode that we did twice. So we did that once with Celeste and once with Tammy in episode, if I'm not wrong, 20.
I don't know how you're remembering all this shit, but
Is it episode 20?
this guy's a beast.
It's episode 20, boys.
This guy's a beast. That's how I'm saying.
But yeah, so episode 4 and episode 20 was about should influencers do more? And it's a topic that like John and I have been like very, very fixated on this throughout this entire IMO journey.
Especially in the start of the year.
Especially in the
say,
start,
yeah.
yeah. Towards the honestly, after the Tammy episode, we kind of got a bit sick of talking about it. But like, do your opinions still hold?
That influencers should. I can't remember what I mentioned, but if I were to rattle off now about what I think about the influencers,
Yeah,
should be
quick 1
expected,
second. Yeah, one
You
1
know,
second.
I feel they should.
Okay.
Because especially now, given how the world has changed, and the internet is way more in how to say main character in our lives right now, influencers with a platform should ideally use the platform for not. I mean, of course, I feel that expecting them to do so is still a bit too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is definitely a little bit of pressure, a little bit of obligation for them to try to use the platform for good. I wouldn't say I 100% agree that they are expected,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, I think, right, given the state of the world right now, they kind of moralistically owe it to the world to do a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My opinion held from the episode 4 to episode 20 was that actually no, episode 4 I had this opinion that they should. Then I changed my mind. So in episode 20, I gave it a lot of thought, but I still think that we shouldn't expect anyone to do good.
Yeah lah, I don't really say expect lah, but right now you have to think about it because of everyone on the internet, right? It is as if they are like you just think of them as rich philanthropists.
Yeah.
If they're rich and they're philanthropists, we kind of have that pressure towards them to try to contribute more. Purely because they have the ability to, same here, except the currency is attention on the internet. So having a platform with attention on the internet like that, there's no expectation. No one can expect you to do anything besides what you're famous for.
Yeah.
But you kind of have currency there. And if you have spare currency to spare, put that spare into something good.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
Okay. And moving on to the next one, how to be happy with Professor Andy.
Prof. Andy. Kind of miss you, man.
It's actually quite a very good episode. Also another episode that did very well. Basically talk a little bit about mindfulness, talk about the endless pursuit of materialistic happiness and materialistic goods and stuff like that would never make us happy.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If you're interested in the psychological processes behind happiness, you should definitely go and take a look at it. And I still am very grateful that I went for his class and the episode was very eye-opening actually.
Prof. Andy. You're a gangster, man. You're pretty cool guy.
Yeah. So yes. So next episode was also with Prof. Andy about how to improve Singapore's mental health. And mental health is a topic that we actually talk about a lot in this IMO series.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So why don't we just group them all together? So mental health, we also talked about it in the celebrity suicides video about the suicide of the Terrace House member. And also we also talked about it in the recent episode with Joyce, the IMO Lost episode, about our mental health journeys.
Yeah.
We also talked about like mental health in terms of mental wellness during COVID-19. So, man, I think this is a year of mental well-being. Or
It has been a year where your mental fortitude is really tested.
and it's also the year that I feel like mental health has been more in the forefront.
Right, for sure.
Because like I recently went for I was a photographer for one of the events at Safety at Sea webinar. I honestly didn't understand 99% of the things they said. But at 1% they were talking a little bit about mental health of the workers, the ship workers.
Right.
And I was like, man, like I wonder if and they frame it as mental health of these workers, especially during a pandemic. So I was like thinking, if there wasn't this pandemic, I wonder if there will be this
Seminar.
much emphasis. Yeah, there's definitely going to be seminar, but I don't know whether there'll be as much of a emphasis on mental well-being. Because I think during the pandemic and during lockdown, everyone was like, man, you have to take care of yourself, take care of your well-being and everything. So I'm quite glad that we are starting to take it a bit more seriously nowadays.
Yeah, I think one thing that the COVID-19 pandemic has definitely highlighted was the importance of mental health along with physical health, because especially with more and more people being stuck at home or stuck in isolation somewhere, or being isolated from the things that they enjoy or things that they typically speak to the deepest parts of themselves. This definitely takes a toll on people's mental states lah. Like for example, myself, I do find myself being very frustrated because I am someone who's a very outdoorsy person. And not being able to head to the outdoors besides the few corridors in Singapore is starting to frustrate me a little, right? A few natural corridors in Singapore. Hike. How many times can I hike from MacRitchie to Bukit Timah?
Yeah, exactly.
How many times can I do these multiple routes, right?
Yeah.
And people will like sometimes question, oh, why don't you go do something different, right? But as a working adult, I only do have those small windows of time. So I understand, how it may be difficult. And it's just very, very, very heartening that like something that is important to the both of us, something that we focus on, is also something that society seems to start to focus on a lot more. So
and in fact, mental health is one of those topics that a lot of people DM me about. A lot of people follow IMO and also gets the most comments and people sharing their stories. So it does hearten me to hear people talk about like how much they appreciate us talking about these things. And about like them asking for help. As I said, I'm like one of the least qualified person you can ask for help. But at the same time, I'm still heartened that you're able to talk to someone about it. And
I feel that after all these episodes of IMO, my purpose for when we talk about this is still always the same, to at least let people who are suffering know that people are talking about it. And that, you can always find us for advice. And if we can't give you advice, know that we can refer you to a professional.
Yes. And I mean,
it's a safe space here.
Yeah. And I really recommend the mental health episodes, especially because, of course, it's the topic that they come very close to heart for me, but it's also topics that I feel somehow, I feel the best.
Everyone,
I feel the best when I produce it. I don't know how to explain. So like, I think you guys will enjoy it a lot. So I'll recommend you go and watch those episodes.
Yeah,
but moving on, the next episode we did was a little bit of at least on the surface, a little bit of a controversial one. We talk a little bit about the Singapore government. Is the Singapore government doing enough?
In terms of what?
So we talk about it in the context of COVID.
Okay.
So they're talking about like, at that time the government was being criticized for
being slow. Right.
For being reactive, for not locking out China or like doing the travel ban early.
Right.
And like people were like, why are we still having foreigners?
Right. Oh my god.
Everything?
We were so young and innocent back then. I think that was like the Dalgona coffee era, right?
No, it was even before circuit breaker. This was like,
oh my god,
before the madness descended upon us.
Yeah.
This is mad. It was a very early times, and like I think at that time, the migrant workers cases in the dorms haven't even exploded yet. So we knew that it was a festering problem. It just haven't.
Oh my god, a lot of Singaporeans haven't really started wearing masks yet.
No, at the time it was don't wear mask unless you're sick.
Oh yeah,
that was the thing, and everyone was damn upset about that. Everyone was like, why don't wear mask? Like, this is making me uncomfortable. We have to wear mask, and
then now mandated to wear mask. They are assholes. They're like, I got bring mask what? Right. Yeah,
but I mean,
assholes. Chin diaper.
Okay. On hindsight, do you think the Singapore government was doing enough at that time?
Frankly speaking, yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to be just a government mouthpiece, okay, but
Yeah.
I just want to put it out there that having seen, okay, now whole year already, okay, I rate the government's performance lah, huh? So basically at the start, I thought the reason why they were being reactive
Yeah.
was very on point with how a government ought to react,
Mm.
because they were reacting to what the WHO was saying.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
And this is a pandemic that truly tested the entire leadership of the whole freaking world.
It's the world.
There is no example to follow. There is no
There's no blueprint.
there's no
There's no
blueprint. There's no like, oh, okay, turn to page 49 and then
There's no playbook
follow
for this.
Yeah,
Man. No one writes these
right?
things. Yeah.
So rightly so, the leadership ought to follow the smartest and brightest direction, and that comes from the World fucking Health Organization.
it's the smartest and brightest as it gets.
And I'm just gonna put it out there. Now it's 3rd December. Singapore, we are almost done. Even though we do have suddenly one or two more community cases, I don't see it blowing up.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Lah, fingers crossed.
Touch wood.
I don't see it blowing up as much as some of the countries they are having right now. We're not the best. We're not the best. Okay? We're not the best. I'm just gonna put it out there.
No.
But I am pretty proud of where Singapore is.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I think we could have done better is probably the migrant worker dorms. I think that was a problem that was waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think they knew.
And do you know what has happened?
They solved it.
They solved it, okay?
They solved it now.
They freaking solved it. The migrant worker dorms, I mean, of course, I don't think the field hospitals or the quarantine areas are removed or like every single patient is out, but
Yeah. There's no more cases. There's no more
yeah,
clusters. and everything.
everyone has more or less been tested, protected,
And they're not
isolated.
active. They're into active testing now.
Exactly.
So they're no longer in the backlog. They are actually actively
And I
going
still
out.
remember this was the era before lockdown, right? Where everyone in the whole world was talking about flattening the curve.
Yes, yes.
This is how you flatten the curve, bitches. Follow Singapore.
But like, okay lah. But we're not perfect, and I think there are
We're
a
not
lot
perfect.
of things that, looking back on hindsight, we might have been able to foresee.
No,
and,
absolutely,
do better.
absolutely, man. I don't think
But on
any
hindsight,
country.
Yeah, but on hindsight, everything is 2020, right? Like, I think at that time, given the amount of information and knowledge we had,
Yeah.
Singapore government made the most informed decision they could have made.
Yes. I tell you, think about it. I tell you, if let's say Singapore, we see a second spike in cases again,
Yeah,
we are so damn ready.
we are ready.
We are so damn ready.
I'm confident lah. Okay,
Yeah.
recently I did a swab test.
Yeah.
And like it came back negative first of all. It also came back really fast. And I think if anything, it made me more confident in our healthcare system.
Yeah.
And even though I was panicking like shit, right? You can tell when I came in, I was like, yeah, I have a fever. I thought everyone's gonna be like, go to like full emergency meeting, full meltdown, right? But like they didn't bat an eye. I was like, you have a meeting? I have a fever. I was like, oh, do you declare it? Like, yes. Okay, sit down. I'm like, oh, that's it. Then that's it. Then the doctor was like, okay, I think we just give you a swab test. I think it should be fine now. Okay. Then okay, bye. Then I was like, oh, that's it. Then really nothing lah. But like, I think it's I have a lot of confidence in our Singapore government. And not saying that they are not flawed or anything. They are certainly flawed. But
Yeah, for sure.
I think we did the best we could.
Yeah, and I think, people don't give the government credit enough for these kind of things. People like to take shots at the government, but you know what? Once in a while, I think we got to be thankful of them. Good job.
Yeah, and why don't we, on the same vein, we go into episode, I forgot the number already, but it's episode of Subhash. We talked a little bit about improving the migrant worker situation for COVID-19 and beyond. So, I mean, I wasn't very well versed in the whole migrant worker situation thing. At the time, the migrant worker cases were basically spiking like no one's business. And I mean, of course,
It's like
because
hundreds and hundreds of cases every day, right?
it's never had, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
lah. But it's like, I mean, if you look at their conditions, you can see why. lah. And
Yeah.
Subhash was talking a little bit about like the systemic problems that they go through and all the things. And I think that was an episode that got us to a little bit open our eyes a little bit into the whole social activism realm and everything. So
Absolutely.
I think it's an episode that you should definitely check out as well.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that I think Singapore government could definitely have done better.
You know, I think like there's always been this talk about how the whole migrant worker situation, right, was a ticking time bomb.
It
right?
was. It really was.
And like it goes to show that the chink in our migrant worker care environment situation is a pandemic, right? And I think this is something that like a country like ours, which relies a lot on foreign labor, right? It's one of those tricky things that now we know we have to solve, because back then we didn't even know it was a problem.
To be fair,
Yeah.
I think we did. To be fair, there are a lot of people who have been pointing this out for years. And when the COVID-19 thing first came out,
I think it just bumped it way up on the list.
yeah, people were like, wait a minute, this is going to be a problem. And everyone was telling the government, but then like, I think for a few months, no one did anything, and then it became a big problem, and then the government reacted. So, I mean, now it's solved definitely, but could the government have been more proactive and saw that it was going to be a problem?
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, yeah lah. But we can't expect the government to be perfect.
Yeah, I think definitely more work can be done lah. You know, concrete improvements wise, I can't give much answers based on my amount of knowledge. I'm not as knowledgeable about this as I would like to be. But definitely there are many ways we can improve the conditions of our migrant workers, especially you know, in ways that the pandemic has taught us how. Yeah.
Definitely. And on that note, we also went on another episode with Patient.
Oh yes.
On COVID-19, and it's also about we talk a little bit about the governments, and because she came from Beijing, is it Beijing?
China, basically.
Yeah, from China, and she also went to the US, so she got to see a little bit of like the governments and like how they handled the COVID-19 pandemic as compared to Singapore. So that was another episode that you should definitely check out.
It was very eye-opening, and also one of the first few episodes whereby we had some serious technical problems. We wish we could show you what happened behind the scenes, but
you know what? Why don't we leave it for next week?
Yeah,
you guys can come down and watch our episode next week, and you guys will give you the lowdown of what really went on behind the episode, because it was crazy, and I died, and John died, and Patient died with us as well.
We all died a little bit inside.
Yeah, so actually, I think now is a good time to take a camera break before we move on.
Oh yes.
We can take a camera break. See you guys.
Shout out to Sony. Please extend your camera recording limits.
Please.
See you guys in a bit.
And we are back.
We are back. So after asking Sony to extend the recording limits, we manually extend first lah, huh?
Yes, and we are going to talk about the next one, which is love and relationships with Prof. Andy. You know what? This year has been a crazy year for love and relationships.
It has,
for John and I.
It has. You know, frankly speaking, it's been a year that has been tumultuous, if not to say the least.
Yes, which we will talk about next week. But I think the things that we talk about in the episode were still very, very relevant. We talked about communication. We talked about the problems with a bit of problems with the Asian society, way of connecting with each other.
Yes.
And a little bit of some tips of how to handle a relationship and how to handle conflict and everything.
You know, yeah.
So if you're in a relationship, or even if you're not, just go and watch it.
I don't think my opinion about anything has changed.
About that, right?
Yeah, so...
I mean, that was the first time that you talked a little bit about how you use humor as a not coping mechanism, but a conflict resolution mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think you guys will be able to relate to it very well. I think that was another episode that did quite well. So if you guys are into the psychology behind love, psychology behind relationships, and what makes a good relationship, you should definitely check that out. The next episode we talked about was plagiarism in art. Is there any other truly original art anymore? I remember what triggered this was the Singapore Heroes thing. The comics about COVID-19 heroes.
Yeah. The Mawas man, the band of doodlers.
Yeah. So that one, where they basically...
They commissioned a dude to try to design comic book mascots for the pandemic for situation in Singapore, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, someone accused this person of the artist of plagiarism because they copied Penny Parker or something like that. One of the Spider-Verse characters.
Did they?
Yeah, it was an almost accurate trace, like an almost one-to-one trace.
I know it's a trace. Okay, I don't know what the character is.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, it's Penny Parker.
Okay, so it was a trace, and then we talked a little bit about like in this new art scene, is there really truly anything that we can consider as truly original? I think your opinion at the time was there isn't, but there needs to be a certain respect you have for the art. So
I can't remember, but I give you my opinion now.
Yeah.
Firstly, I feel that like art truly original is something that's very difficult to define, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of the time when it comes to art, right, your art form is very inspired and very your eye is always very inspired by your lived experience.
Yes.
And we are already in a world that is so saturated with beautiful things and so saturated with artistic things. So all these things add to your creative spark, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe one day you saw a picture with really bold lines, and that's where you learned to appreciate bold lines. Maybe someplace you saw a place that used really bright neon colors. That's where you started to pick up on neon colors.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere you saw that the artwork is posted on papyrus, and that's when you learn papyrus as a texture. So is if you combine these three elements, is it still truly unique? It's difficult to say.
I don't think it's because everything is inspired from something.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. But then again, you must understand that every artist is inspired by something,
Yeah.
right? So in that sense, you know, it is truly still unique art, right? But to say that it is original, I highly doubt that any art is original.
I think it's the spirit of it. I think that's what we talk about in the episode. Like
Exactly.
it's about making your own art and making it your own.
Yeah.
But it's okay to be inspired by other people. Just
It's not okay to be plagiarize. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was our opinion, and we still hold that
Yeah,
opinion.
man. You can let ideas guide your brushstroke, but you shouldn't be tracing.
Yeah, and art is actually a topic that we talk about a lot on this podcast. In fact, the next episode we actually
Because we're one of those non-essential people.
we actually went with Ling Yun.
Yes.
We did an episode with my wonderful friend Ling Yun.
Mm,
We talked about whether good art has to be said, about the tortured artist path.
yes.
And that was another very good episode.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, that was your opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna say still no.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately, art that is set is often going to be viewed as more deep and unfortunately more artsy. Happy art is very difficult to be perceived as deep because it seems very superficial.
If you okay lah, I get what you mean, because I think it's the human condition to view that it's cheaper.
Yeah, and it's like,
You know.
I think when nowadays people think of happiness as a bit more raw and deep because it's like they think that everyone inside is a bit sad. So when you show happiness, it feels a little bit more like you're peeling back a layer. But when people say that they're happy, it feels like they're just being very superficial about it and taking it at face value. So I do think that unfortunately most of the good art are unfortunately a bit sad and gloomy. But I do think that it shouldn't stop us from doing whatever the hell we want to.
Absolutely.
So moving on, if we talk a lot about the media scene and art,
Oh, I like this one.
so many episodes. So the next 2 episodes were dedicated to
Our main man,
our main man Jian Hao.
Mr. Jian Hao Tan. Thank you so much for coming on our show, man.
Thank you.
He said some really kind words to us. Had some really insightful discussions with him. You know, I was very, very humbled having to have being able to have that conversation with him, because I thought it was great. You know, for someone who is one of the OGs of the YouTube scene in Singapore, and then come on our show, and we chatted a little bit about what he thinks about the situation that he was in versus the other aspects of the media industry. Very eye-opening.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about like, basically we're defending Jian Hao throughout that whole saga thing, and we were saying that like he needs to be a businessman about it, and he's being a artsy person. Unfortunately, in YouTube especially, doesn't pay the bills and doesn't pay 30 people's bills.
That's right.
So, like, being in the circumstances that he's in, he has to do what he has to do. And I think a lot of people understand that.
Man's gotta do what man's gotta do, man.
Yeah, a lot of people just say like, oh, you have to make good art and whatever, and then the views will come, or like sponsorship will come. Unfortunately, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and frankly, having spoken to him, you must understand, you know, he has to juggle being a businessman. Sometimes he has to put down the mantle of a creator to be a businessman.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a fact that we have to admit. Living in the year that is such, right? It's even more difficult for creators. Right?
And I still hold that opinion that he is one of the best businessmen.
Yeah.
As much as I don't, I don't say a fan of his content or anything.
Yeah, same.
But I think I respect him a lot as a creator, and I respect him a lot as a mentor or person to look up to.
A senpai in the YouTube scene, absolutely.
And in fact, if you hate Jin Hao, if you're one of those people who really hate Jin Hao, right, I really recommend you watch this episode because I feel like this episode changed a lot of people's minds about who he is.
Yes.
A lot of my friends watched this episode and went like, shit, like I didn't know it was like this.
And I think like that goes to indicate the kind of how to say, I want to say, I can't, for the lack of a better word, a little bit shallow / misunderstood lens that people view our online personalities.
Yeah.
And this is something that you have to find out because like sometimes, it's very easy to slip into the mindset that, they're just this type of people. It's very dehumanizing and it's like, it's not the full picture. So check out our episode. You can always find out a little bit more, man.
Yeah. And we actually talk a lot more about the media industry also with Kiwei. Kiwei, one of our wonderful friends, he came on and talked a little bit about like being a creative, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic. And we talk about a lot of different things, so we won't really go into it in this episode. But we also talk about the media industry with Brian, the boss of TSL, the founder of TSL. And Brian also talked a little bit about how TSL started.
Entrepreneurship
and everything. Yeah. So if you're interested in the media industry, we essentially gave you
two bosses. There are two bosses.
Yeah.
Frankly, our podcast is a masterclass.
We essentially gave you a masterclass on how to start a media company.
We're even better than some of those internet gurus. We don't ask you for 3 minutes of your time. We straight up take 2 hours of it. And then you want to listen? No, it's up to you.
We just unwittingly did it.
Skills future.
If you really wanted to go and find like actual tips on how to start a media company and stuff like that, right, you can definitely find it in our podcast because we somehow will talk about it.
Yeah.
So moving on about about another boss, another media company. We have Sean Fu.
Yeah.
Sean Fu, the founder of
Dear Street People.
Dear Street People.
Yes.
I want to say Dear Street Company. Dear Street People. We talk about gay rights.
Yeah.
So that was the time of Pride Month. And he was talking about like gay rights activism and like trying to fight, have a balance between activism and also earning money.
Yeah.
So I think that was another cool episode as well. If you're wanting to monetize your company, but also still do some good in the society.
And also I think it really highlighted some of the issues within a community that is still rather marginalized, in broader society. And I think especially recently things are really starting to open up because there was this dialogue with BM King who was talking to Keegan, the transgender person. And like recently a lot of these kind of things are being showcased, these kind of accepting attitudes are being showcased by the leadership in Singapore. And I think these are big strides forward.
Good step forwards.
Yeah.
And like I think generally the world is becoming a bit more open as well. Recently Elliot Page came out as transsexual. And I mean people are so wonderful. I mean of course there were the detractors, of course there were the haters, but I would say they were overwhelmingly positive.
Yep.
And I find it very heartening.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good step forward.
Yeah. As someone who grew up with when he was still Ellen Page, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with the content, the movies and stuff like that he was a part of. I think it was a very inspiring thing to see happen.
Yes.
Albeit still a little bit misunderstood.
Yes.
So I think it's very brave of someone like Elliot Page to come out the way that he did, and like it's
pave the way, right?
He really did pave the way because if you think about it, this is someone from a generation of millennials who inspires millennials and inspires millennials all the way to the next newer generation.
Yes.
We don't see too many young, famous in the limelight kind of transgender people coming to fully embrace this and come out with their coming out story on the wider media and on social media. And I think that's incredibly brave. I think it's great. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. And I mean, it's not technically on IMO, but I've done some works with District People. And I also released a music video, Call It What You Want, on my channel.
Yeah.
So definitely go and check that out if you're interested.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And we're talking a bit about like gay rights and everything as well.
Mm.
So it's something that I feel very strongly for as well. And we probably will do more episodes about it next season.
For sure.
And then there was the okay, let's go controversy. That's when the whole cancel culture thing started. And oh boy. And I think the cancel culture thing was a topic that we harped on a lot. A lot. We talked about cancel culture so much until we told each other we are not going to talk about cancel culture.
Frankly speaking, I feel that like the second half of 2020 has been full of people fighting each other, people cancelling each other, people being angry on the internet.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what? We're going to throw in the Dikosh episode of it as well.
All right.
And
I forgot
that
about
was
that.
the first episode that blew up, and I remember being so scared. But that will be next week, and I'll talk a little bit about my reflection about the episode. But the opinions, do you think it has changed?
In terms of whether cancel culture is a good thing or what?
Yeah.
You know, I still feel the same. Cancel culture is the unwanted byproduct of internet justice.
Yes.
And being in a place where justice is democratized and justice is kind of freely given out to people like that, clearly we as a species don't have enough self-control to wield it. Yeah, and like this is I recently had a chance to do an interview with like two lawyers, right, who are practicing lawyers for the law, right, to talk about the Singapore criminal justice system.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's a criminal justice system with a penal code and all sorts of kind of things is like really eye-opening at how much a system that governs people have to be super comprehensive.
Yes.
And having this kind of democratized, crowdsourced internet justice is not something our society is prepared for, because we're just way too, I hate to say this word, we're way too immature for that.
Yeah, I think you said something that I think stuck with me personally. You said like the internet has advanced too much, or technology has advanced too much too fast for us to handle.
Correct.
And until now I still believe that. And
Absolutely.
I really do think cancel culture comes from a place of good.
Correct.
It comes from a place of people wanting a better society.
Correct. Because after all, any justice inherently means some form of some form of vengeance or some form of comeuppance for someone who has behaved badly.
Yeah.
But the problem is we as a internet society are not mature enough to deal with that. Are not mature enough to deal with that impartially.
Yes. And I think that's our stance now. It comes from a place of good. I don't think it's channeled in the right way. We just need to find the right balance for that. So that's our 20 seconds no nuance take. And if you want more nuance, you can go and watch our probably 4 or 5 episodes about cancel culture. It's not just the Dikosh episode. We did a whole episode. It's cancel culture problematic and everything.
And if that's not nuanced enough, perfect. Leave it in the comments below, man. Engage with us in the conversation. We always want to hear what you guys think. And as a forgetful person, if I say some stuff that has, contradictory tones, it clearly means that my mind has changed from some episode to here and there. So we're all flexible, we all chill here, but let's have a proper discussion.
Yes. And the next episode we talked about was sex education.
Is that the NUS one?
No. We actually just talked about the problem with sex education. And then after that...
Is that the one I go and shoot the boomers? I go and attack older generation or something?
I think the second one you attacked the older generation.
Okay, let me just put it out there. Okay? I apologize. I didn't mean anything I say to be an attack.
Yeah.
If I do accuse a generation or accuse a group of people, accuse blah, I'm trying to be as factual and direct as possible. I'm not trying to condemn y'all. If y'all feel condemned, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not. We're not trying to. I mean, John just does get like a little bit emotional sometimes.
Yeah, I just talk shit, man.
Yeah, so we talk about sex education, and like basically the long story short is that it's not enough. We need to talk about it more, and we believe, or not we, I believe that, I don't know if you believe this or not, but sex crimes, a lot of it can be mitigated.
Absolutely.
With good sex education.
I still agree with this because, recently towards the end of the year, we start to see a lot of highlighted sexual deviant offences and stuff like that. And a lot of these are getting very high profile and making it the news. And I think these are all preventable.
They're all preventable.
Preventable. If we educated people we may educate them away from being offenders. If you educated people earlier, we may educate also victims on how to protect themselves. So this two-pronged approach will always create a better society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just educating about like, I mean, of course you have to educate about content culture. You also educate about like kinks and like what is okay, what's not okay, and like how do you handle it if you have kinks that are not okay? Like, do I go see a therapist? Like, what do I do? Because a lot of people are very confused,
Yeah.
and I'm very sure it confuses the shit out of them, and they don't know what to do. So, sex education, I think, is very important.
Absolutely, man.
And we talked a little bit about it also in the Tempusu, the NUS Tempusu,
The T freedom.
the T freedom
Yeah.
episode, the T freedom episode, where we basically disagreed that they should be shut down, and we should in fact try to promote a bit more of that. But you know what? NUS went on, the Tembusu professor went on to have like some sexual misconduct, and there were a lot.
That was the guy.
I don't know whether he's involved with T freedom, but there was a Tembusu college professor that was had sexual misconduct, and there were other NUS professors that also.
This
went on to
year
get
has been a
fired.
funny year for NUS lah. So I'm saying, but then again, you know, I'm not trying to make light of a situation that clearly has very serious implications.
Yeah.
I'm just making a joke here because like I think, clearly there's something that we need to relook.
We need to.
In terms of our education system, because way too many situations like this are surfacing about these kind of behaviors happening in universities. So anybody, to our viewers, right? Any of y'all, if you ever feel like you're put in a situation where you're sexually threatened, right? I just put it as sexually threatened because it could be harassment, it could be abuse, it could be anything. Please do not hesitate to speak up and find the relevant authorities. Society is on your side. People are here to help you. Please reach out. Because if not, no one will ever know.
Yeah. And we need to start thinking about a cure or like the prevention to this instead of like just punishment.
Absolutely.
Like, and I think the most
Rehabilitation.
obvious, and the most obvious prevention for people from doing sexual crimes right now is at least sex education.
For sure.
So yeah, that was our opinion, and it's still our opinion. So we move on to tips. So these tips we are just going to talk a little bit about it. We talk about university tips with Dago. Good episode.
Yeah,
a lot of people like the
pretty good.
episode. And we also have a first job tips with John.
Yay.
And that was also another good episode. In fact, that was the episode that Brian watched. And that was the episode that after that Brian was like, hey, can I come on the show?
Really? I never knew this.
Was it this episode? It is, yeah. It's this
I
episode.
never knew this.
Yeah, he was like-
he liked the...
He watched the episode, then he was like, hey, I really like this episode. By the way, if you want to come on the show, if you want me to come on the show, you can come on. So
Thank you, Brian.
good episode. You guys can definitely go and watch it.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
stamped of approval from the TSL founder. So you should probably go and read it and watch it. And then we talk about NS. Should NS be abolished in one sentence?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And I agree.
You know, let me just put it out there. When it comes to NS, we cannot take our peace for granted.
Yep.
We
And-
absolutely cannot.
Yeah, and we talk. I think it's a pretty long episode. The NS episode is 50 minutes long,
Yeah.
so you can go and watch it. And I think we talk a little bit about like the opponents to NS and what their arguments are and everything.
Yeah.
So if you guys want a more nuanced argument, go and watch the episode as well. And then we also talk a lot. We talk about elitism, and I think that goes hand in hand with another episode we did, which is tiger parenting.
Ah,
So
my favorite.
we talked we talked about the parenting style and how it might affect the younger generation.
Tiger parenting is my favorite topic.
Yeah.
Because it hits different, man. It hits different.
So I still agree. I still think that tiger parenting is not the way to go. As much as
Same.
it comes from a place of probably care and concern and love,
Same.
but it's not the way to go. And it might breed problems like elitism. It might breed problems like people looking down on other people because they are not successful.
Self-esteem
Self-esteem
issues.
issues.
All sorts of things, man. And
Yeah.
then now in an era where social interaction has started to evolve, even to internet meetups, real life meetups, so many different ways of human interactions. Just purely, facing up against being in defense mode against a tiger parent is not gonna service for your child.
It's not. So we still agree with that opinion. And in fact, you know what? The tiger parenting episode is one of my favorite episodes as well. I actually really like the episode.
Huh?
So
I also attacked a lot of other generation people.
sorry.
I use attack loosely lah, but I did point out some of these people, especially people who are in the parents' generation.
Yeah.
Frankly, now I feel that some people from my generation fit the bill. So do better.
I like the episode. And I think a lot of people can relate as well. So the next one was a very another episode that blew up. Another episode that blew up is the Natalie Sell episode.
The one regarding the Orchard Towers murder.
Yeah, and I think that
Centered around the discussion with Natalie Sell about Natalie Sell.
yeah, we had our wonderful friend Chow on
Yeah.
this episode. Another episode that I think was pretty well done. I actually liked the episode a lot. I think that there was a lot of nuanced opinions in it.
I still highly encourage anyone who was involved in that case, as difficult as it is to say this out now, to engage in the dialogue with us, because we do want to find out a little bit more. And I mean, we have a small little platform. We would like to discuss this a little so that we can understand it from
Your point of view, right?
everyone's point of view. It doesn't have to be the perpetrator's point of view. It could be the family member's point of view. You know, it's a tough thing to have gone through, regardless of whichever side you were on. And I think you know, as much as the discussion was skewed towards whether it's ethical to have a influencer kind of situation created out of that kind of a crime. What we want to always find out more is, you know, what people actually think. You know, what actually goes on behind the scenes. Because I think, you know, as much as we would like to always just paint her as a criminal, right? That might be the most defining thing in the public's eye. She's still a person.
Yes,
you know, and
course.
being a person means that, you know, there are still valuable things, there's still valuable insights, there's still valuable there's still meaning behind being this person. And, you know, people
There's a reason for our behavior, as much as we don't agree.
For sure. And I think those are things that we would like to explore a lot more. You know, just to be moderate and fair. Because we're not, like I mentioned in all our episodes, we're not here to rile people up, to get people upset. We're here to have an intellectual discussion. If you're feel free to disagree with us, we're here ready to change our minds. You know, we're just here in our freaking opinions, man.
And I think the episode, the comment section was quite lively. And a lot of people were talking about their own opinions about the case.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that everyone was going to agree with John and agree with your view.
Yeah.
But then as I read the comments, I actually realized that it was a lot more split than I would imagine. So I think, okay, here's the thing. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I think that you're missing out a lot on the comment section. So you can listen to Spotify
while opening the video, scroll down to the comment section.
Correct. Because honestly, the comment section is the second show. Like, it's really the second show, and you can see other people's opinions and their comments, right? And I think it's still very, very valuable. So I still hold my opinion with the Natalie Sell thing, which is that I just hope that she has changed. I hope that she's a changed person. And if she is, good for her, man.
Yeah, I you know, I'm a strong believer in second chances.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that like as long as someone is readjusted, rehabilitated, and able to find a new way to move on in society, right? As a society, we ought to be supportive. You know, having spoken to two lawyers about the criminal justice system, one of them, his name was Jing Yan. He brought a very important point, especially when we started to discuss about the murder kind of situation, right? Of course, initially when everyone was all seven of them were charged with the murder charge, everyone on the internet was like really angry. I would even you will even say some of us were out for blood. We were all like, you know, wow, you know, we got to condemn these criminals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you know, Jing Yan, the lawyer that I spoke to, brought up a very important point, was that within the criminal justice system, especially, if a life has already been lost, should we take away another? Right? And I think this is something that really puts it in perspective here. And I think this really helped me to understand the importance of rehabilitation a lot more. Because a lot of times, you know, when the media reports things a certain way, you expect it to go a certain way because we all are riled up by emotions. But these people also deserve fair treatment.
Yes.
You know, criminals deserve fair treatments. People who are charged in
They
the
deserve a
eyes of the
second
law,
chance,
they
man.
deserve a second chance.
Yeah.
And that's where, as a society, we need to firstly learn to be more accepting of this, and secondly, put in a more concerted effort to help people become better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what, Natalie, if you're watching this, okay, I genuinely hope you're not, but if you
What?
are, you can come down on our show. I would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Or anyone involved with the whole thing. I would love to talk to you guys. Just DM me or something.
We just
And
want to find out a little bit more because I think these
Yeah.
kind of things are worth discussing. And a lot of times, people don't hear the full story enough.
Yes. And you know what? To wrap up this video, we're just going to rapid fire on all the other episodes that we have done. It's all the weird episodes that we did to basically fill the time. and NTU Confessions, NUS Confessions. We
Oh.
did an episode about Mulan, and that was the most heated episode that we have ever done. Because John and
Screw Mulan!
I still think that it's not that bad of a movie.
No!
But go and watch it because we basically did this
Yo, what the hell?
for 1 hour straight. We basically did this for 1 hour straight. It was a very entertaining episode.
I pull no punches. Mulan sucks. Big bollocks.
Kept him. But yes, I think all those episodes were also very fun. It was more for our mental health because we were getting very tired at those points. And
Yep.
you know what? It was still very fun to do those episodes. And I think there were
Absolutely,
still
man.
nuggets of cool messages that can take off
Yeah.
from those episodes. So definitely go and watch them as well. And with that, I think we're coming to the end of our episode already.
We have come to the end of this episode, and we're I mean, I was just checking the camera, and we have less than 2 minutes on the clock.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna rattle off real quick.
Yes, very off.
1 minute left. Okay. Thank you so much, all this for following us throughout this year. And I think, to anyone who disagrees with us, we always like to encourage you to have an intellectual discussion in the comments below. And then, it's been a great year. It's been a tough year. I think this whole year has been really eye-opening for all of us. So let's just stay positive. Let's stay intelligent, and let's talk to each other a little bit more. And, let's hope 2021 is a better year.
Yes, and live stream 12th December, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. Please join us. I don't want to be lonely. And with that, stay safe. See you guys next week.
See you guys next week. 30 seconds on the clock. Let's go. Bye.
Bye.